He asked me for a ride, but halfway down the road, he vanished. And what he left behind still haunts me today. I've always hated driving late at night. The roads feel endless, the radio fades in and out, and sometimes the silence is worse than the noise. That night, the highway was almost empty. Just me, the hum of the engine, and the occasional flash of headlights from the other lane. It was past midnight when I saw him. A figure standing on the side of the road. Thumb out, arms stiff, barely moving. His coat looked old, ragged, soaked from the drizzle. I don't usually pick up strangers, but something about the way he stood there, alone in the dark, made me slow down. I pulled over, rolled down the window, and asked where he was headed. He didn't smile. He didn't even look relieved. He just leaned in and said quietly, "Into town." And without waiting, he opened the door and slid into the passenger seat. The man sat stiffly in the seat, hands folded in his lap. He didn't smell of alcohol, and he didn't seem dangerous, but something about him felt off. His coat looked like it belonged in another decade. Heavy wool, frayed at the edges, with buttons so worn they barely held. Water dripped steadily from the hem, soaking into my floor mat. I tried to break the silence. "Rough night to be walking," I said. He turned his head slowly, eyes pale in the dashboard glow. "Just needed to get home," he muttered. His voice was flat, distant, like he wasn't really talking to me. I asked where home was. "I'll tell you when it's time," he replied. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Who even says that? The radio crackled with static, even though the station had been clear a moment ago. For a second I thought I heard something, a faint whisper beneath the static. By the time I turned the volume down, it was gone. And when I glanced at him again, he was staring straight ahead, not blinking, not moving, just waiting. The miles rolled by in silence. The only sounds were the wipers dragging across the windshield and the steady thrum of the tires on wet asphalt. I kept sneaking glances at him, trying to make sense of who I had let into my car. He never moved, never coughed, never shifted in his seat. Finally, I asked again, "So, where should I drop you off?" For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, without turning his head, he said, "I'll tell you when it's time." The words made my skin crawl. I tried to laugh it off, pretending it didn't bother me, but my knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I wanted to ask more questions, but something in me said not to. The road stretched on, dark and empty, and for the first time that night I realized I hadn't seen another car for miles. When I reached for the dial to change the radio, I caught his reflection in the glass. His lips were moving, whispering something I couldn't hear. But in the seat beside me, his mouth never opened. I tried to keep my eyes on the road, but curiosity got the better of me. I glanced over and froze. The seat was empty. My foot slammed the brake, the car skidding slightly on the wet asphalt. I turned on the dome light, scanning the back seat, the floor. Everywhere, nothing. The passenger door was still shut. locked, the window rolled up, but on the seat, right where he'd been sitting, were a few objects. A scarf, faded and moth-eaten, a small leather-bound book with yellowed pages, and an old wallet, cracked and dry. My hands shook as I picked them up. They felt real, solid, cold, and then in the rearview mirror I saw him, standing in the middle of the road behind me, drenched in the beam of my taillights, still, watching. When I blinked, he was gone. Shaken, I drove to the nearest gas station, clutching the wallet and scarf like proof I wasn't losing my mind. The clerk looked up as I stumbled in, pale and shaking. "You all right?" he asked. I set the things on the counter. "I just picked up a hitchhiker. He vanished from my car and left these behind." "Do you know him?" The man behind the counter frowned, slowly pulling the wallet closer. He opened it, looked at the faded ID inside, and went still. "Where did you say you found him?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "On the highway. Mile marker 41. He said he needed to get into town." The clerk's face drained of color. He reached under the counter, pulled out an old newspaper clipping, yellowed with age, and laid it beside the wallet. The photo showed the same man, same coat, same eyes. The headline read, "Local man killed in car crash Highway 41. The date? 25 years ago. I drove back to my car in a daze, gripping the clipping in one hand and the wallet in the other. But when I opened the driver's door, I froze. The seat was empty. The scarf, the wallet, the little book, all gone, like they had never been there. Only a damp patch remained on the seat, as though someone had been dripping rainwater just moments before. I started the engine, trying to convince myself I was exhausted, imagining things. But then the radio flickered back on, hissing through static. At first it was just noise. Then the static cleared, and a voice came through. His voice? The same flat, cold tone I'd heard in my car. "Thanks for the ride." The words repeated, distorted, echoing, until I had to slam the radio off. My hands shook on the wheel. But in the windshield, reflected faintly in the glass, I thought I saw a face in the back seat, smiling.